Takeshi gained unmatched magical powers after rescuing a magician girl from a group of evil wizards. He later joined a magic academy to hone his abilities and defend the world from a dangerous group of magical terrorists. One ordinary day, as he approached his dojo, an injured girl stumbled out of the room next door and collapsed. Startled, he rushed her to the infirmary, where she began to regain consciousness. Calling out for her brother, she suddenly hugged him, only to open her eyes and mistaken for a creep. Pulling out a Glock, because apparently that's how first impressions work, she aimed at him. But before she could act, her legs gave way and she accidentally fell on his lips.
Now you set my soul on fire.
Mortified, she fired her magic gun, yet somehow missed him point blank.
Women.
Her aim made stormtroopers look like professional snipers. After realizing he was only trying to help, she introduced herself as Mui Aiba. Takeshi noticed a glowing smoke swirling around her, and when he asked about it, she quickly apologized, explaining that if he could see it, she had made a serious mistake. Suddenly, a black butterfly flew into the room. Mui shot it down, revealing it was a magical drone sent by her brother to kill her. She wanted to escape with Takeshi, but her edgy brother Suganashi arrived with his gang. Takeshi tried to make a quick exit through the window, only for it to be frozen shut by their magic. A massive swordsman in the group challenged him, forcing Takeshi to draw his bamboo sword. Surprisingly, he matched the man's strength, skillfully blocking and even managing to land a strike on his chest. The big guy's pride couldn't handle it, and in a furious attack, he shattered Takeshi's sword. Just then, Takeshi's hidden magical power awakened, granting him the ability to see his opponent's future moves. Takeshi narrowly avoided the next strike by leaping into the air and smacking the big guy's hand, forcing him to drop his massive sword. The weapon went flying toward Mui, who barely dodged it, but its momentum shattered a window. That stroke of luck gave them the perfect escape route. They darted out and hid behind a pillar, where Mui finally admitted that she, along with their pursuers, was a magician. She apologized tearfully, revealing she had accidentally turned him into one as well. Takeshi, being the soft-hearted sap he is, comforted her as she explained that magicians were feared by ordinary people, so they hid their identities. Her brother, however, had decided secrecy was overrated and joined a radical group called Ghost Trailer, whose mission was to wipe out humanity. Because when you're bored, mass extinction is apparently a hobby. Their moment was cut short when Kurumi, Takeshi's girlfriend, showed up. She instantly grew suspicious of the new girl clinging to her boyfriend. Before she could press for answers, the big guy returned, this time with his nerdy accomplice. Takeshi borrowed Kurumi's sword, telling her to run with Mui. The nerd lunged at the girls, but Mui hesitated to fire. Kurumi, thinking fast, smacked him over the head with a heavy book. If only all problems in life could be solved with literature. Enraged, the nerd unleashed a briefcase full of murder hornets, but his victory was short-lived. He forgot about the ancient law forbidding magicians from fighting in the ordinary world, and as soon as he attacked Mui, the spell triggered. He collapsed in agony as a dark magic circle stripped away his power, and judging by his groans, his dignity. The attack inadvertently exposed Kurumi to magic, transforming her into a magician instantly. She gained what could only be described as 5 years of training in 5 seconds. At that moment, their delinquent friend Ida arrived, dragging a girl from the enemy gang. He claimed she attacked him on his way to remedial classes, so he handled it. Then he casually asked Kurumi when she got her implants before realizing his hand was burning from newly awakened magic. Timing was never his strong suit. Meanwhile, the big guy had been waiting patiently for everyone to finish their dramatic entrances, but his patience ran out. He charged Takeshi, forcing him into the open. Using his foresight magic, Takeshi dodged through dust clouds, predicting every move. He told his opponent to surrender, but the brute refused. Mui jumped in, casting what sounded like a powerful support spell, but it turned out to be nothing more than a magical flashbang. Blinded, the enemy staggered long enough for Takeshi to land a precise strike to his throat. Coughing up blood, the man said his goodbyes. No death, though. Afterward, Mui told them to follow her. She led them through a mirror into a parallel dimension she called the Ruined World, the realm of magicians. Takeshi was stunned. It was a perfect replica of Tokyo, except everything lay in ruins, a grim testament to a devastating magical war. Mui led the group to Subaru Magic Academy, affectionately nicknamed the Japanese Hogwarts. There, they met the headmistress, Shijo Momoka, a 15-year-old prodigy with 30 years of magical experience. Apparently, she started her career before she could spell her own name. Momoka explained the grim history of the Great Magic War, which took place 16 years ago between the radical Ghost Trailer faction and the rest of the magicians. Their leader, Kazuma, basically the Voldemort of this world, unleashed a god-tier spell called Last Rhyme to wipe out all humans. In response, 15 legendary magicians united and used their powers to split the world into two. One side was obliterated by Last Rhyme and became the Ruined World, while the other side, the Living World, remained untouched. The two factions then struck an agreement. They would continue their war only in the Ruined World, and whoever won would claim the Living World. To protect the Living World, the most powerful magician, known as the Wise Man, cast a spell called Gift, preventing magicians from using ancestral magic there. After the war, Kazuma vanished, with some believing he fell into a deep slumber from the strain of casting Last Rhyme, Momoka offered the three newly initiated magicians, Takeshi, Kurumi, and Ida, a choice: stay at the academy to learn magic or return to their normal lives. Takeshi decided to stay, determined to reunite Moi with her brother. Ida agreed immediately, seeing it as an adventure. Kurumi hesitated but eventually chose to remain so she could stay by her boyfriend's side. Momoka admitted them into Class C of the first-year high school division and, as a bonus punishment for recklessness, demoted Moi into the same class. Nothing says lesson learned like getting held back a grade.
You're a victim!
The next day, class began with a lecture on ancestral magic, unique abilities every magician possesses, which are channeled through special artifacts called aspects. Kurumi's aspect turned out to be her lip balm, while Ida's was a skull ring. Takeshi, however, didn't have an aspect. The teacher discovered he possessed evasive magic and sent him with Moi to the academy shop to find one. They met a cheerful shopkeeper named Scarface, who guided them into an armory. Takeshi requested a katana, a weapon he already knew how to handle. Scarface presented him with a strange black sword, its sheath marked with a magic circle. It had once belonged to one of the 15 great magicians of the war, now retired. Another magic circle adorned the hilt, and Scarface explained that this was an evasive magic sword. If Takeshi was compatible with it, his abilities would increase dramatically, but if not, he might lose his hand. Before Takeshi could decide, Scarface suddenly attacked. Instinctively, Takeshi dodged and blocked, activating the sword's magic in the process. The sword reacted to Takeshi's magic, absorbing it until a hidden mechanism clicked open. A small cartridge for inserting bullets popped out of the hilt. Moments later, Takeshi dropped to his knees from exhaustion. Scarface praised his stamina, explaining that the weapon was called Twilight, a gun-sword hybrid capable of firing bullets infused with other people's magic to transform its form. Apparently, even swords now have DLC add-ons. Scarface handed him 3 magic bullets, and Takeshi accepted the weapon. When he and Mui returned to class, they found the room charred beyond recognition thanks to Ida's magic spiraling out of control. The teacher casually waved it off, saying this was nothing unusual for his lessons. The following day, the trio headed to the practice field for combat training. Takeshi struggled to control Twilight, and Ida couldn't channel his magic properly. Kurumi was more skilled, though her transformation magic only turned her into a Playboy model, much to the distraction of every male in the area. Takeshi was visibly annoyed by the stares. His glare alone could have qualified as an attack spell. Ida, meanwhile, managed to blow himself up mid-practice, earning a sharp scolding from Kurumi. Mui interrupted and whisked Kurumi away to swimming class. In the locker room, she offered her tickets to a fortune teller whose love predictions were supposedly 100% accurate. Both girls immediately thought of Takeshi, and by the time they bumped into him and Ida later, they were blushing so hard they looked like walking tomatoes. As the group discussed dinner plans, some girls passed by and insulted Mui and her brother, calling him a traitor. Hurt, Mui ran off. Their green-haired teacher, who had overheard everything, explained that magicians often form communities based on shared beliefs. The 7 most powerful communities dominated the magical world, with their leader being Wizard Brace, an organization advocating peaceful coexistence with humans. Ghost Trailer, however, wasn't among the 7 and was despised by all, especially by Wizard Brace. Mui, her brother, and the girls who mocked her were all originally part of Wizard Brace, but after her brother defected to Ghost Trailer, the others labeled him a traitor. Takeshi felt for Mui, remembering how his own family rejected him. Later in class, he caught a few boys secretly taking photos of Kurumi and promptly confiscated them. While he was giving them a firm lecture, Moi overheard him mention his relationship and fled the room nearly in tears. Takeshi felt guilty, but his concern only made Kurumi jealous and insecure. Kurumi visited the fortune teller, only to hear the worst possible news, that Takeshi would never stay loyal to her and that her love life was already over. Nothing like paying money to get roasted by destiny. Furious, she flipped the table and ran away in tears. Later, Moi approached her to apologize for stealing her boyfriend's first kiss, clarifying that it had been an accident. Kurumi, still upset, dashed to Takeshi and attempted to kiss him the moment she saw him. He stopped her. When she asked why he would kiss Mui but not his own girlfriend, he quietly asked if they could stop pretending to be a couple. His words hit her like a truck. She avoided him for a week. One day, another boy proposed to her, assuming she was single again.
Why are you gay?
She rejected him, but when he grabbed her shoulder from behind, it triggered her trauma. She collapsed, and Takeshi immediately rushed over, threatening to kill the boy if he came near her again. As he looked at her shaken state, old memories resurfaced. Kurumi had been considered beautiful since birth, and as she grew older, she attracted constant male attention. After a terrifying encounter with a stalker, she asked Takeshi, her best friend, to pretend to be her boyfriend to ward off unwanted admirers. He agreed without hesitation. This, however, caused tension with his younger brother Gekko, who also liked Kurumi. Gekko was furious when he found out and believed he'd been betrayed by his own brother. Their conflict escalated one day on the way to school. After a heated argument, Takeshi lightly touched Gekko, who stumbled into the path of a speeding car, leaving him permanently disabled. Gekko remained convinced it was a deliberate push, fueling a long-standing grudge. Returning to the present, Kurumi asked Takeshi to restore their relationship to the way it was before, saying she still needed him. He agreed. She then spotted her confiscated love rival photos in his pocket, snatched them back, and allowed him to keep only one so he could practice his sword skills at night.
Yeah, boy.
The next day, Takeshi and Ida trained together. Ida struggled to infuse a storage bullet with his fire magic, while Takeshi couldn't even get his cartridge to manifest. Their practice was interrupted when Kurumi ran in, breathless, saying that Mui was missing and had left behind a map. Reporting this to their teacher, they learned she was most likely searching for her brother, but the academy couldn't help while the headmistress was away. Determined, Takeshi declared he would go after her himself. His friends called it a stupid idea, but naturally, agreed to join him anyway. They met at the gate, hiding until the guards passed, then followed them through the mirror into the ruined world. Inside a protective barrier, a veiled woman on a throne introduced herself as the overseer of the gate. She told them Moi had not passed through and urged them to turn back, warning that a war was raging outside. Before they could decide, an explosion erupted in the sky. A black paintball slammed into the barrier, morphing into a magician who was instantly incinerated by his enemy. Kurumi clung to Takeshi in terror. He told Ida to take her back to the academy, but instead, both of them chased after him as he bolted out of the barrier. Meanwhile, Mui wasn't far from Takeshi's group. The day before, she had visited the fortune teller to ask about her brother's whereabouts. Now, she had finally found him, or so she thought. Her edgy brother Suwa revealed that the whole thing was a trap set by the fortune teller, who was secretly a member of Ghost Trailer. He planned to take her back alive. Mui tried to remind him of their past, but he claimed to have no memory of her. Lifting her by the collar, he prepared to drag her away. She pointed out the gloves he was wearing, reminding him that they had been a gift from her. His memories began to flicker back, but by then he was already draining her magic to defeat her. By the time Takeshi and his friends arrived, Mui was on the ground, her magic gone. Furious, Takeshi demanded to know how Suganashi could hurt his own sister. The boy didn't care. Activating his liberate magic, he enhanced his power and launched himself into the air. Ice spears rained down from above. Takeshi used his foresight to dodge and block most of them, but the last one struck him. Suganashi then attempted to trap him in an ice castle, but Ida shoved Takeshi out of harm's way, getting frozen solid in the process. Takeshi tried to free him, but Ida told him to focus on saving Moi. Remembering how Takeshi had once saved his sister from kidnappers, Ida declared this was his way of repaying the favor. Dodging Sua's attacks, Takeshi reached Moi and shielded her. Suganashi realized he was dealing with a rookie who couldn't even use Liberate, so he decided to end things with a flashy move: hail bullets. Takeshi blocked the barrage with Twilight, deflecting some toward Ida to shatter his icy prison. He then carried Moi to the others and told Ida to charge a magic bullet, their only real shot at winning. Takeshi rushed Suganashi again, clashing in a fierce duel. But the edgy boy wasn't just carrying a sword for decoration. He pushed Takeshi back and unleashed another hail bullets assault. Takeshi's weak shield couldn't withstand it, and he was knocked to the ground. Injured, the girls quickly stepped in to cover for him, buying time as Ida neared a full charge on the magic bullet. Takeshi concentrated on manifesting his cartridge while Suganashi hurled more ice spears, which the girls blocked with magical shields. Ida finally charged the bullet to 100% and tossed it to Kashi just as the cartridge appeared. Loading the gun sword, Twilight transformed into a blazing weapon. With the girls at their limit, Takeshi unleashed a devastating move called Blast Fog, obliterating Suwa's attack and blowing him away. Suganashi crashed to the ground. Mui tried to run to him, but Takeshi stopped her, warning that the battle wasn't over. From the smoke stepped a white-haired butler named Washizu, who praised the young magicians before teleporting away with Suganashi to Ghost Trailer's headquarters. Back at the academy, they found Headmistress Momoka injured from her own recent battle. She scolded them for breaking the rules and risking their lives, demanding they promise never to attempt anything reckless again. Takeshi, however, refused. He knew Moi wouldn't stop searching for her brother, and he would always help her, no matter the danger. Momoka liked Takeshi's boldness and told him she'd give him a chance to prove himself soon. The opportunity came in the form of the Midyear Ancestral Magic Exam, held inside a massive building conjured with illusion magic. If Takeshi's group could ace the exam, Momoka would allow them to go after Suwa. Months later, the day arrived. Students were split into groups based on their ancestral magic. Takeshi and other evasive magic users had to reach the building's central area while avoiding traps and obstacles. Things escalated quickly when their first obstacle, a swarm of Gatling gun spiders, opened fire. Takeshi somehow survived the first barrage, proving that his luck stat was probably maxed out. While heading toward the goal, he encountered Oigami, a swordsman from Suwa's crew. Takeshi tried to confront him, but Oigami claimed he didn't even know him. It turned out Oigami had been kidnapped by Wizard Brace, brainwashed, and stripped of his memories. Takeshi was left wondering if forgetting him was Oigami's defense mechanism or just bad luck. Soon after, a rampaging rhino chased Takeshi through the city. Just as he was about about to become a pancake, a glitch in the illusion saved him. The disturbance was caused by ghost trailer infiltrators wreaking havoc during the exam. The illusion began to collapse and Takeshi plummeted through the floor. He used floating magic to land safely in a massive maze garden. Nearby, a stone golem attacked Kurumi. Oigami suddenly appeared, saved her, and smashed the creature. She was shocked to see him, but quickly realized he still had no memories. Unfortunately, he was injured in the fight and forced out of the exam. Eventually, Takeshi regrouped with his friends and told them about Oigami. The others were surprised, but Moi reminded them to focus on escaping the collapsing maze. They were close to the goal when another stone golem landed in front of them.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Takeshi charged in but was smacked into the air like a baseball. Mui's fire magic barely scratched it, and Ida didn't have time to prepare an attack. Takeshi suggested they use the fire sword combo again and asked Ida for a charged bullet. Ida threw it and missed so badly. While Kurumi and Mui distracted the golem, Ida blocked a crushing blow with a fire punch. Takeshi retrieved the bullet, loaded it into his gun sword, and unleashed Blast Pod, destroying the golem in a single strike. A card flew out of the golem's remains and landed in the hands of Violet, a high-ranking member of Ghost Trailer. She had originally come to cause chaos, but after spotting the Twilight Sword and Takeshi, she immediately called dibs because apparently, finders keepers is still a valid battle strategy. The next day, Kurumi reminded Takeshi about his promise to visit a shrine on New Year's with her family. He didn't want to go, which made her furious. She ran off crying, and when Mui tried to mediate, she realized she was basically helping her competition. A few days later, Kurumi returned to the living world, leaving Takeshi to train with Moi alone. During a break, Moi came down with a fever and ended up giving him some unintentional fan service. The flustered Takeshi carried her to her dorm, but her fever made her even more delirious, sometimes calling him Kurumi, sometimes Sua, and pulling him into bed. Let's just say the blanket covered more than just body heat. When she finally fell asleep, Takeshi tried to sneak out, but his timing was worse than a horror movie protagonist's.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Kurumi walked in. Seeing her cheating boyfriend, she kicked him out of the room, then did the same to Moi for good measure. Kurumi cried at the doorway like her heart had been stolen, and maybe her common sense too. Mui snapped out of it, ran to Takeshi, and begged him to handle the situation. Outside, Takeshi sat by the fountain, refusing to go back to Kurumi. He told Mui that she wasn't his real girlfriend, explaining that he'd only been pretending to protect Kurumi from stalkers. Now, he wanted to stop the act, news that made Mui think, "So, you're saying there's a chance?" Things stayed awkward between Takeshi and Kurumi until one day, she spotted Oigami in the library. She went to thank him, and he ended up comforting her about her relationship issues. Overwhelmed, she ran out and bumped into Takeshi, turning the awkwardness dial to max again. A week later, the exam results came in, and Momoka announced that Takeshi's group had performed well enough to pursue Sua. She gathered them in her office, gave Mui a bullet containing binding magic to capture her brother without hurting him, and summoned an anywhere door with her black magic. At the same time, Prefects shoved Oigami and a ghost trailer girl named Hotaru into the room. Neither remembered their past, but orders were orders. They had to follow Momoka, the school nurse, and the prefects through the portal. Takeshi and his friends joined too, stepping out into the ruined world. Soon, a magic circle formed in the sky and a car appeared out of it. Suganashi and the white-haired man, Washizu, stepped out for the hostage exchange between Ghost Trailer and Wizard Brace. Oigami finally realized they'd been hostages just so the academy could trade them for Suga. Hotaru threw a tantrum about not wanting to go, but Oigami told her to zip it and follow him. Before leaving, Kurumi thanked Oigami for saving her, and he told her to be strong, then handed her a parting gift that made her blush like he just slipped her his Netflix password. The hostages were exchanged, and Washizu told Oigami and Hotaru to get into the teleporting car while he stayed for a one-on-one with Momoka, who politely suggested they fight somewhere less crowded. Meanwhile, Suga faced Takeshi, his friends, and a squad of extras aka red shirt magicians. He used drive magic to boost his powers, but the others hit back with their own drive buffs while the nurse fortified Takeshi and Ida. Suga attacked with ice lances, but the nurse blocked with a wall of water. The two prefects surrounded him, summoned a giant key, and split the ground open. Suga fell into the pit but clung to the edge with his ice harness. The nurse broke it, but he still escaped and injured everyone except the main characters because plot armor is bulletproof. He flew off and Mui chased him. The nurse ordered Takeshi and Ida to follow, while Kurumi stayed behind to heal the wounded. Elsewhere, Momoka and Washizu floated in the sky reminiscing about their school days, basically catching up before trying to kill each other. Washizu noted she hadn't changed since high school, mentally or physically, and she shot back that he'd changed into a full-on villain. Momoka attacked with her magic compass sword, but Washizu dodged and powered up using drive and liberate spells. He unleashed a powerful attack, but Momoka blocked it with a black diamond shield. Then Washizu cast his ancestral magic, Dissolve, claiming everything in his range would melt in 13 minutes. Momoka decided to finish him before then. They clashed violently, with Washizu pushing her back. She regained her footing and cut through the bridge below them, but he dodged. She created a portal, attacked from behind, and used a decoy sword so she could fire bullets from the front. The compass sword attacked from the back, forcing Washizu to jump where a chain grabbed his leg. Momoka flung him into her magical basement filled with high-grade TNT because apparently her idea of storage is a Michael Bay set. Washizu vanished into the darkness as the blast echoed. Momoko thought she had finally killed Washizu, but the stinging pain in her body told her otherwise. Just like spider senses, his dissolved magic was still eating away at her skin and clothes, and there were only minutes left before she would be reduced to something resembling overcooked spaghetti. Suddenly, a massive fountain erupted from the sea, and Washizu emerged grinning. He mocked her for not making her basement wall sturdier, explaining that he'd guessed it was at the bottom of the ocean. Since her magic couldn't create doors to impossible places, his hunch had been correct. He boasted that their leader, Kazuma, would soon awaken and expose all her darkest secrets. Momoko froze at his words, then decided she'd had enough. She unleashed her ultimate spell, Space Arc, opening a swirling portal to outer space. Everything began getting sucked into it, but she anchored herself in place by countering her own magic. Washizu laughed, confident she'd die from his dissolve spell before she could send him flying among the stars. Unfortunately for him, a car came hurtling into the sky and dragged him into the void. The portal closed, and Momoko collapsed into the ocean unconscious. Meanwhile, Takeshi, Mui, and Ida arrived at Suganashi's massive ice fortress, basically the set of Frozen, if Elsa had been an evil crime boss. Ida tried to blast through the ceiling with a firebomb, but it barely scratched the surface. Before he could try again, the castle's defense system activated, launching ice lances at them from every direction. Takeshi called for their fire sword combo, but when Ida charged the bullet, he overpowered it. The attack exploded in Takeshi's face, and the sword went flying. Takeshi tried to grab it, but Suganashi froze his hand. Ida came to help, but kept slipping like a budget ice skating performer. Mui, deciding she was a strong, independent woman who doesn't need a man, rushed straight at her brother. Takeshi yelled for her to wait, while Ida worked on thawing his hand, though Takeshi had to remind him to use full power instead of candlelight warmth. Upstairs, Moi confronted Suganashi, asking if he was truly happy in Ghost Trailer. She pleaded for him to come back, but he attacked without hesitation. Just as he was about to finish her off, a massive explosion shook the fortress. Takeshi and Ida burst in, riding a pillar of flames. They healed Mui, and she used her binding technique, telling her brother she wanted him to be happy, yet she knew he wasn't right now. Tears filled her eyes, and to his shock, Suganashi began crying too. A sudden flashback of their childhood overwhelmed him, sending his emotions spiraling. Takeshi and Ida charged forward, while Mui loaded a binding bullet, ready to end the fight. Mui steadied her breathing, preparing her ultimate attack. Her gun suddenly extended like a male cucumber rising in the morning. She pulled the trigger, and the shot blasted her brother, knocking him out cold. A few days later, Mui woke up in the hospital, curled up next to her brother. To her shock, Suganashi had come out of his coma, and with his memories intact. She burst into tears and hugged him, while he gently caressed her hair. Their friends witnessed the touching reunion, probably thinking. That night, Takeshi wasn't sleeping as peacefully. In his nightmare, he lay in a sea of blood while Kurumi ran to him in tears. As she held him, a monstrous figure rose from the bloody waves. She kissed him just before being dragged away by Squidward tentacles, disappearing into the crimson abyss. Takeshi jolted awake, panting, unaware that his sword, Twilight, was quietly draining his magic to transform into a woman. The next day, Suganashi demonstrated powerful spells during training. Moi thanked Takeshi for rescuing her brother, nervously giggling as she handed him chocolates. It was Valentine's Day after all. She blushed, but her victory was short-lived when Suganashi casually showed off the same chocolates, teasing Takeshi that he wasn't special. Nothing says friend zone like your crush handing out wholesale chocolate deals.
You're a victim!
Flustered, Moi dragged her brother away before he could tease her further. Later, Kurumi also gave Takeshi chocolates, revealing she and Moi had made them together. She teased him for not looking thrilled, but Takeshi couldn't admit that he was haunted by his bloody nightmare. That night, his dreams returned. This time, he stood above the clouds as Moi chased after a giant pudding.
It's an edible!
Only to fall through a hole. Takeshi woke up in a cold sweat. When he stepped outside for fresh air, he bumped into Suganashi on patrol. After hearing about the nightmares, Suganashi explained that sometimes they could be caused by magic, and suggested he visit the nurse if they worsened. The next morning, Takeshi watched Moi sprain her ankle while chasing someone carrying a pudding. He froze, realizing his dream had come true. Dizziness overwhelmed him, and he collapsed. He awoke in the nurse's office, who scolded him for being sleep-deprived. But as she tried to wake him properly, Twilight transformed into her human form and began draining his magic. The nurse spotted her just in time, and Twilight snapped back into sword form. When shaking Takeshi didn't work, the nurse smacked him across the face and he sprang awake. She explained that Twilight was the cause of his nightmares, using his magic to manifest herself while casting future visions disguised as bad dreams. The nurse warned him to stop keeping the sword by his bedside, or it would drain him to death. Naturally, Takeshi ignored her advice like every anime protagonist ever. That night, he dreamed again, this time finally meeting Twilight in her human form. The news quickly reached Momoka, who summoned him to her office. She told him to follow the nurse's instructions or she'd confiscate Twilight herself. Takeshi refused, insisting he needed to see what Twilight wanted to show him. Momoka threatened him with a pencil if he disobeyed again, but finally revealed a compromise. The only way to end the nightmare loop was to face Twilight's human form in a dream battle. If he won, he could wield her freely. Takeshi worried about dying for real if he lost, but Momoka assured him she'd keep him safe. That night, the entire squad gathered in the nurse's office for the dream battle. Moi insisted on joining him. Before putting him under, Momoka reminded Takeshi that the bond between a magician and their aspect was like parent and child. It couldn't be broken easily. The nurse cast the sleeping spell, and the headmistress erected a protective sphere. Takeshi opened his eyes inside a dim building, where Moi appeared to join him. The scene suddenly shifted to a beach, where Moi's clothes morphed into a swimsuit. She gave Takeshi a judgmental glare. That's when Takeshi noticed Twilight sitting calmly on a swing. He ran toward her, but the dream warped again, and Moi's outfit reverted to normal before the world shifted once more out of nowhere. Takeshi found himself staring at a hologram of his mother. Her expression was full of regret as she tried to tell him something important about his younger brother. But before she could finish the message, her image flickered away. The scene shifted, and suddenly his brother Gekko appeared before him, fury burning in his eyes. Gekko shouted that everything wrong with their family was Takeshi's fault. He lifted the fallen angel's blade, a weapon said to pierce anything, and sprouted dark wings as his magic flared. In a burst of power, he launched a devastating attack. Takeshi instinctively rushed to protect Moi, but just as Gekko's strike came down, his form melted away and reshaped into Twilight. Twilight's human form stood before him, her original sword in hand. She told Takeshi he was unworthy of carrying her, then conjured a copy of the blade for him to use. He gripped it tightly, declaring that he would force her to obey. Twilight smirked, unimpressed, and transformed her weapon into the Wizard Slayer, a spell left behind by her previous master. The clash began. Takeshi tried to dodge using his evasive magic, but Twilight's speed overwhelmed him and she drove him back. Moi raised a protective barrier, but a single swing from the Wizard Slayer shattered her shield and absorbed it completely. Twilight ordered Takeshi to give up. When he refused, she turned her assault on Moi, draining her magic little by little. She said the girl would wither away slowly unless Takeshi abandoned the dream. Moi begged him not to retreat, but Twilight struck Takeshi next. Her blows cut through him and she began siphoning his magic as well. Weakness spread through his body until he fell to his knees. In that moment of despair, he remembered Momoka's words. The bond between a magician and their aspect was like that of a parent and child. Memories of his own mother surfaced. She had stopped calling him by his name, and that thought sparked a solution. As Twilight raised her blade for the final strike, Takeshi whispered an apology. He admitted his mistake. He had never given her a name, even though that was what she desired most. With newfound resolve, he looked at her and bestowed one, Eterna. The name froze her in place. Her weapon fell, the ice beneath them cracked, and tears welled in her eyes. She sat on the ground, overwhelmed, her existence finally given meaning. A radiant light engulfed her as she transformed back into sword form. Takeshi grasped the hilt, and Moi rushed to embrace him for his victory. Time moved quickly. By April, Takeshi and Kurumi were on a date to celebrate finishing their first year at the academy. They spoke about Eterna, who sometimes still showed Takeshi prophetic dreams, but respected his need to rest. Soon, new students began arriving at the academy. As second years, Takeshi and Kurumi were on duty to welcome them. Their jaws dropped when Ida showed up with his younger sister Futaba, a sweet and polite girl, completely unlike her rough older brother. They even joked that maybe Ida was the adopted one. Ida clarified that she really was his blood sister, then explained how she gained magic. During a vacation, she wanted to sneak out to a boy's birthday party at night. When Ida refused, the fight between them got so heated that he literally exploded with magic, accidentally exposing her to it. Since then, she had powers of her own. After Ida and Futaba left for orientation, a chilling voice reached Takeshi. His eyes widened when he saw Gekko, the very brother from his nightmares, enrolling at the academy. Kurumi was equally stunned. Gekko declared that he was now a magician too, and promised to explain everything later. Yet days passed and he avoided giving any answers. One evening, fate brought the brothers together in the bathhouse. To Takeshi's surprise, Gekko acted friendly, even offering to scrub his back. They spoke openly for the first time in years. Gekko apologized for the bitterness between them, admitting the accident wasn't Takeshi's fault. He confessed that his anger came from losing most of the function in his legs and unfairly lashing out at his brother. Hearing this, Takeshi forgave him, and the two mended their broken bond. Even so, Takeshi couldn't completely forget the nightmare that had once shown Gekko as an enemy. Despite his doubts, their daily school life returned to a peaceful rhythm, the brothers getting along well throughout the term. During lunch break, Takeshi got ambushed by the green-haired teacher, who decided gossip hour was more important than letting the kid finish his sandwich. The teacher casually dropped the bomb that Gekko was actually Takeshi's younger brother. Then, with the seriousness of a man who just farted in church, he warned Takeshi that his brother was built different, and not in a good way. He advised Takeshi to guide him onto the right path, like Gekko was some broken GPS. Takeshi left confused, knowing full well the teacher was hiding something extra spicy. That night, Takeshi's brain tortured him with another round of Nightmare Slideshow Deluxe Edition. He floated in an endless void until Gekko appeared, now older than him, looking like he had binge-watched every villain tutorial on YouTube. Gekko ranted that that Takeshi stole everything from him, his shine, his clout, and even threatened to steal Twilight and Kurumi. Takeshi jolted awake, gasping for air, only to find Washizu chilling on his windowsill like Batman's broke cousin. Takeshi grabbed his sword, ready to throw hands, but Washizu waved him down, saying he wasn't here for a fight, just story time. And oh boy, story time was dark. Washizu explained that back in the 8th century, some stuck-up magicians decided to form a squad called Wizard Brace. These clowns thought they were the chosen ones, but instead of saving humanity, they tortured and executed anyone weaker than them. Basically, wizard Nazis. Takeshi was horrified, but Washizu doubled down. His magic eyes told him this was all facts, no cap. Then Washizu dropped the name Kazuma, the big boss of Ghost Trailer. He revealed they'd actually been childhood buddies at Hogwarts knockoff school. Kazuma was insanely powerful, and Wizard Brace desperately tried to recruit him, but when he refused, they pulled the dirtiest move, held his parents hostage. Kazuma stormed their office to demand their release, and when they told him to sign a contract first, he snapped and killed the guy. Wizard Brace retaliated by murdering his parents, flipping Kazuma into full rage mode. That's when he formed Ghost Trailer to rebel against them. Takeshi stammered, calling Kazuma a terrorist, but Washizu fired back that Wizard Brace were even worse. He explained that at the end of the 20th century, Kazuma kicked off the Great Magic War in Tokyo. Thousands of magicians died. Near the end of the war, the previous wielder of Twilight stood against Kazuma. She would have died if Kazuma's best friend hadn't jumped in front of the attack, sacrificing himself to save her. The woman's name? Yuka. Takeshi was shocked. That was his mother's name. Washizu revealed the bombshell. If that friend hadn't died saving her, Takeshi wouldn't even exist. So basically, Takeshi's entire life was sponsored by his mom's old boyfriend. Washizu then tried to recruit him, saying Takeshi owed Ghost Trailer a thank you membership. When Takeshi told him to shove it, Washizu demanded he at least give up Twilight since he didn't deserve her. Takeshi refused both offers, and surprisingly, Washizu respected his stubbornness, saying at least he didn't side with Wizard Brace. He hinted that Takeshi's strike vision would eventually show him the truth, and when that day came, he joined Ghost Trailer willingly. Then he jumped out the window, except Takeshi suddenly realized he had been dreaming the entire time. The next day, Takeshi cornered the headmistress and demanded answers. Momoka admitted Yuka was indeed one of the 15 great magicians of Wizard Brace, but when Takeshi pressed her about Kazuma's parents' deaths, she went silent. His strike vision screamed a truth he didn't want to accept, so he bolted out, shaken. Meanwhile, at Ghost Trailer HQ, Kazuma finally opened his eyes after 177 years of beauty sleep. Washizu, waking from his nap, noticed tears rolling down his boss's face. Violet, their fortune teller, predicted he'd awaken in stages, but that full revival was close. Sure enough, a month later Kazuma officially woke up surrounded by his loyal followers. With a single command, he declared the start of the Second Great Magic War. At the same time, Takeshi sat in class, haunted by the slideshow nightmares that wouldn't leave him alone. A dragon kept appearing in them, taunting him with meaning he couldn't yet figure out. Mui came to call him, but the thought lingered. The storm was about to hit harder than ever. During their next class, Takeshi's cursed eye flared up and he suddenly shouted for everyone to hit the floor. At first, his classmates thought he'd finally lost it, but when the windows exploded into a rain of glass, they all learned this was not the day to doubt the crazy kid. Kurumi nearly got skewered by the shards, but Takeshi pulled her out of harm's way. Looking outside, he froze. There was a giant red dragon straight out of his nightmares. The monster exhaled flames and roasted their classroom like yesterday's leftovers. Ida grabbed his sister Futaba, while Takeshi dragged Kurumi outside. But just when survival seemed hard enough, they realized the campus was crawling with magicians in red robes, setting everything ablaze. Meanwhile, Mui ran into some of those robe-wearing maniacs, but her brother showed up just in time, freezing the idiots into popsicles. At the same time, Headmistress Momoka made her entrance, slicing down attackers like she'd been waiting her whole career for this excuse. Her swagger didn't last long though. A trio of infamous magicians, the so-called Invincible Trio, showed up to challenge her. She asked them why they were working with Ghost Trailer, but the trio clearly skipped the Q&A portion of the fight and jumped straight to violence. One sealed the room with a barrier, another sucked out the air, and for a moment it looked like Momoke was going to suffocate. Unfortunately for them, the old lady had enough tricks to embarrass them. She stabbed her compass sword into the ground, tore the barrier apart, and cheerfully told them they'd underestimated her. But just when she was about to brag about it, Violet of Ghost Trailer appeared with her demonic summons. Momoka held her ground, but when Violet unleashed a dragon, things went south. Momoka fought hard, but the beast slammed her into the dirt. Elsewhere, Takeshi and Kurumi found Gecko, only for him to be dressed in red robes of their enemies. Takeshi's cursed eyes screamed danger, and sure enough, his little brother confirmed it. He joined Ghost Trailer under Washizu's wing. Geku mocked Takeshi's coward's magic and said he finally had the power to get revenge. The two clashed, Geku teleporting around like a caffeine-fueled mosquito, stabbing Takeshi in the shoulder before Kurumi stepped in to shield him. Gekao snarled about how his brother once shoved him in front of a car. Yes, Apparently fratricide runs in the family, and now he was going to take everything Takeshi cared about. His sword, his girl, and maybe even his hair gel. Then he sprouted black wings, cloaked his blade in flames, and beat Takeshi unconscious. Kurumi tried to protect him, even kissed him to activate her transformation magic, but Gekko saw through it, hit her, then immediately regretted it when he realized it was still Kurumi. He snatched both her and Takeshi's sword, leaving his brother broken. Takeshi, meanwhile, drifted into some weird prophecy dream where he saw Gekko attacking their mom, and he woke devastated. Outside, Moi stumbled across Violet, who was preparing to haul unconscious Takeshi away like a prize catch. Moi tried to stop her but got whipped into the ground by a demon nun. Thankfully, 3 senior girls arrived and demolished the nun in style. Their leader, Ina, introduced herself as a 4th-year powerhouse from the Camelot community. Suganashi showed up too, worried for his sister, but relaxed when he saw his girlfriend Ina had the situation handled. Takeshi, barely clinging to consciousness, was taken to Sellet Hospital in the living world. As they carried him away, Moi noticed Kurumi's artifact left behind during her kidnapping and pocketed it, determined not to let her friend's sacrifice be in vain. 3 days later, Takeshi finally woke up in a hospital, with Moi acting as his personal nurse. Overcome with relief, she cried, and he gently wiped her tears. Their moment didn't last long though, because Ida barged in and clung to him like a lost puppy. He explained how the inspection bureau had dragged Futaba away during the attack. When he tried to resist, they nearly crushed him. Moi explained that the Bureau was a dangerous branch of Wizard Brace, tasked with handling gifted but troublesome magicians. Futaba's fate was still unknown, and even Subaru couldn't intervene. Takeshi comforted Ida, reminding him it might be safer that his sister was away from the battlefield. Still, he couldn't help but worry about Moi, since she might be taken too. Shuga and Ina soon arrived, bringing more bad news. Even headmistress Momoka was missing, and healthy students were gathering at Wizard Brace's headquarters to prepare for war against Ghost Trailer. Shuga wanted Takeshi to stay and sell it until his recovery was complete, but Takeshi was restless. He demanded news about Kurumi. Though Ina admitted they had no leads, Moi silently kept the artifact Kurumi had left behind to herself, not wanting him to rush into danger. That night, as Moi slept beside him, Takeshi slipped out for a walk. He overheard Shuga and Ina talking. Ina wanted him gone since Soleil was an exclusive community for women, but Shuga begged her to let him stay a little longer. She agreed, though she planned to consult her superiors. Hearing this left Takeshi feeling helpless again, though Moi's presence cheered him up slightly. Meanwhile, the world outside was collapsing. Kazuma had rallied Ghost Trailer's forces and sent Washizu to capture the great magician known as Wise Man. Washizu slaughtered the guards, injured the old man, and forced him to reveal a horrifying truth. A spell called Gift had been protecting the living world from magicians. If Wise Man died, the spell would vanish. After the explanation, Washizu killed him, and the protective spell dissolved like expired Wi-Fi. Now, magicians could freely invade the human world, and battles erupted in the skies, shocking ordinary people. Takeshi soon learned of this chaos, and memories of the prophecy about Geku killing his mother haunted him. He begged Shuga and Ina to let him return home, and after much thought, they agreed. His mother Yoka was shaken by the outbreak of war but relieved to see him alive. Ina handed her a letter from Camelot's leader, formally requesting that she train her son. Yuka claimed she had given up magic, but the letter included a ring that allowed her to use it temporarily. With this, she agreed. Training began brutally. She blindfolded him, handed him a bamboo sword, and smacked him around until he looked like he lost a fight with a washing machine. Despite the pain, he improved quickly. What he didn't realize was that the ring was draining Yuka's life force, and every spell she cast was shaving away her health. After days of training, Moi asked about his progress, and after some teasing, she finally gave him the artifact Kurumi left behind. It was a teleportation tool. She admitted she hadn't told him earlier because he would have charged in head first, and let's be real, his head first usually meant faceplant. Takeshi promised to finish training before rushing into danger, and Mui, guilty for turning him into a magician, cried. He reassured her that he was grateful, not resentful. Meanwhile, Kurumi remained unconscious at Ghost Trailer's headquarters. She dreamed of Takeshi's death and woke in horror, only to discover she had somehow transformed into him. Geku appeared and confessed he loved her more like this. Kurumi, horrified, snapped back that he was just jealous of Takeshi. In anger, she blasted the door and fled. She soon bumped into Oigami, who surprisingly offered help. He revealed his memories had returned, but he still remembered Wizard Brace. Before things got too comfortable, Hotaru barged in, catching them in a very suspicious position. Hotaru eventually agreed to help since she despised Gekko too. They tried leading Kurumi out, but Gekko spotted them. His eyes locked onto her legs, and in true Creed fashion, he recognized her by her thighs. To escape, Kurumi kissed Hotaru and transformed into her. Gekko was fooled and left, while Oigami helped her move on. Eventually, Washizu interrupted and dragged Oigami away, leaving Kurumi lost inside the shifting maze of Ghost Trailer's castle. After wandering in circles, she stumbled into a dark hall where Kazuma himself appeared. To her shock, the infamous terrorist welcomed her without hostility. Back at home, Yoka pushed Takeshi harder, teaching him a powerful new spell. The strain finally overwhelmed her, and she collapsed, though she hid the truth from him. Believing he was now strong enough, Takeshi declared he was ready to rescue Kurumi. Moi and Ida refused to let him go alone. Together, they activated the teleportation artifact and arrived in Ghost Trailer's headquarters, where Uegami and Hotaru awaited them. But Uegami demanded answers. Why did Takeshi have the artifact meant for Kurumi? Enraged, Takeshi demanded to know where she was. Uegami attacked, challenging him to fight for the truth. Takeshi held his ground, blocking strikes with a spare sword and using his strike vision to dodge. Ida and Moi wanted to jump in, but Hotaru blocked their path with a syringe, insisting they would have to face her first. Tawa unleashed his power, knocking Takeshi to the ground and firing a magic bullet, but Takeshi managed to block it with his shield, sending Tawa stumbling back. Uegami, on the other hand, was actually starting to enjoy the chaos, like it was a sparring session instead of a fight to the death. In the second clash, Hotaru tried to finish Ida and Moi off with a bizarre dinosaur injection. The boy smirked and admitted he'd been holding back because she was a girl, but decided playtime was over. He blasted her syringe with a fire bullet, then knocked her out with a headbutt. Meanwhile, Mui supported Takeshi as he countered Uegami. With the opening, Takeshi recited and completed his spell, and when Uegami lunged, he dodged effortlessly and released his sword aura. Uegami followed with his own aura, forcing Takeshi back. Needing backup, Takeshi signaled Mui. She fired at Uegami's shield while Takeshi combined a magic bullet with a different spell from his other eye. Their teamwork cracked the shield wide open, defeating Uegami. Takeshi told him that he had grown stronger and could now see further into the future, so surrendering would be the smart move. Tawa accepted defeat, and Ida dragged Hotaru over as well. They confessed everything about Kurumi, though they admitted they had no idea where she was. Takeshi used his vision ability to confirm their honesty, thanked them, and realized the mission was over. What he didn't know was that Kurumi was already with Kazuma, who was whispering secrets no one else knew. Takeshi returned home uneasy, sensing trouble. At the gate, he saw his brother Gecko walking out, smeared with blood. Horrified, he recalled his nightmare of Gecko killing their mother. Demanding an explanation, he was told Yoka had attacked first and Gecko only defended himself. Takeshi, enraged, drew his sword. Gecko simply laughed and told him to relax because she wasn't dead yet. Then Gecko revealed he was wielding Eternal, the blade twisted by his corrupted soul. Licking the weapon like a lunatic, he promised to test it on his brother. Furious, Takeshi unleashed his own power, but Gecko twisted the knife even deeper, literally and figuratively, by commanding the sword to transform into its human form. As Takeshi watched Eterna transform into chains, guilt tugged at him. He wanted to save her, but there was no time. Under Gecko's command, she attacked without hesitation, blasting him aside and nearly striking him down. Before she could finish him off, Gecko turned her back into a blade, declaring he wanted to kill his brother himself. But first, he dropped a family secret that hit harder than any magic spell. He revealed that the accident 3 years ago wasn't Takeshi's fault. Their mother had plotted it, ordering the leader of Celat to kill her younger son after being shown a vision where Gecko would become a monster. The plan failed, leaving Gecko crippled. When she couldn't go through with a second attempt, the burden of guilt twisted her. Takeshi was stunned, as Jessen, refusing to believe it, but Gecko swore he had learned the truth directly from her. Takeshi raged, but Gecko shut him up by obliterating the neighborhood just to show off his power. He challenged Takeshi to settle things once and for all. Though reluctant at first, Takeshi realized his brother was no longer the same person he once knew. Both transformed, Gecko sprouting demonic wings with his blade drenched in darkness, while Takeshi revealed his new form, Crisis Edge. It basically looked like Samuel L. Jackson's purple lightsaber.
Who the fuck is this asshole?
The battle erupted into the sky. This time, Takeshi's vision allowed him to predict Geku's moves, blocking and striking back. He even managed to wound his brother and nearly land a decisive blow before a bolt of lightning split them apart. Armies clashed on the ground, wizard brands, forces against the ghost trailers, while Ida, Moi, and Kurumi searched for Takeshi in the chaos. Amid the carnage, the brothers pushed each other to exhaustion. At last, Geku cracked, admitting he was lost and begging for death since he could never be forgiven for attacking their mother. Takeshi lowered his guard, offering him a chance to return to the family and fix things together. Hesitant, Geku reached out, but just as they were about to clasp hands, Kurumi screamed a warning. Too late, Geku revealed his betrayal, mocking Takeshi as a fool and stabbing him. Kurumi threw herself between them, taking the blow. Devastated, Takeshi tried to heal her, but when Moi arrived to help, he left Kurumi in her care and turned back to the fight. Fueled by rage, he unleashed his full power, pummeling his brother into the ground. Standing over him, Takeshi declared it was time to end everything. Geku, consumed by jealousy, spat that it was all his fault for stealing Kurumi's heart. Their clash unleashed black lightning and shook the entire city. Meanwhile, Momoko realized their rampage threatened everything. She summoned a black hole, declaring Kazuno would be pleased, and hurled it at them. The city vanished into a crater, leaving Takeshi's friends stunned at the destruction. At Takeshi's ruined home, Kazuma calmly healed Yuka while Violet stood by. She assured him their mission was complete and now they could rebuild. When Kazuma pulled out a wrinkled swimsuit photo of Kurumi, the one only Takeshi should have had, he called Yuka mother and vowed to change the future. Takeshi then awoke on a garden bench confused. He wandered until he realized he was back at Subaru Magic Academy, only this time it was 1998. His mother walked past with her teacher, now just another student, without recognizing him. Stunned, he pieced together that Ata's magic during his clash with Geku had sent him back in time. Even more shocking, he saw Washizu, Momoka, and Suki magicians he remembered from history hanging out casually with Kazuma. Then, Geku appeared. Among them, limping but accepted as part of their group. Takeshi prayed it was just a nightmare, but Geku smirked and promised that one day they'd fight again to finally settle their score.